What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have my brother's wagon finally on the driveway. You guys saw I moved this car from sitting over there since 2017 to washing it to the driveway and removing all of the suspension that we're going to be replacing in today's video. I believe in 2016 or 17 my brother wanted to lift his car when it was a stock seal cam in it, so I went around, did some reading on civicwagon.com and figured out what people were using to lift these cars up. What I found out was people were using stock suspension components. So the front here are the 9093 Honda Accord, and then the rears are the DB1 Integra. These stock shocks that I got from the junkyard, you can still see the markings on it. This suspension right here gave the wagon a much taller lift than the stock suspension. I don't remember by how much, but it was enough that I could roll my fat self underneath the car to do the oil change, no problem. And then on top of that, he did have my drag DR20s on it, which I bought brand new when they first hit the shelf in 09, 2010. I got these from Vex Motorsports, and then I eventually lifted my wagon, which then I swapped out the tires for some Firestone Winter Force. These are 205 70/15, so this is like a 27 point something tall tire, almost 28 inch. And with the lift and these tires in my brother's car, it was pretty damn tall. I eventually swapped in a K20Z3, made it with a CRV transmission. It was fortunate for us that when we bought the 07 SI from the auction, it came with a supercharger. The car is tuned from LDL. I believe it made like 260 horsepower on 4 pounds, and on pump gas. But because the supercharger and the case sit so tall, we had to cut the hood, right? Granted, we live in California. My brother kind of stopped driving this car because it was too obvious with the hole in the hood. Just recently, I spoke to my brother about what he wants to do with his car because I'm tired of seeing it sit over there. And then he kind of ran me through the idea he kind of had sitting around for a very long time. And after hearing it all out, here we are with the wagon on the driveway. Sorry for talking and explaining a lot. A lot of you guys weren't around when this car was built. A lot of you guys kind of questioned what the car was sitting over there. This is what it is. And I kind of just wanted to give you guys a quick little like insight of this car. This wagon is going to appear here on the channel a lot more because of all the work that we're trying to do to it. So in today's video, we're going to lower the car back down on some new suspension. You guys already know what it is. Big shout out to Maxpeedingrod and Macy for the continued collaboration with their product. Today we're going to be rocking the Maxpeedingrod SP1 coilovers. This is their newest line of coilovers, I believe, and it is the same one that I have in my red all-wheel drive CRX, and I have about 1300 miles on this car. The suspension has been treating me well, but I haven't racked up any more miles to it because I do have a lot of cars and I don't drive the same cars all the time, especially when that car right there is really fun to drive. Okay, this is different. Ziploc bag with all the manuals and instruction for the suspension. We do have some decals right here. That's pretty neat. A lot of people has hit me up and said that they've bought the Maxpeeding suspension. When they open up the package, there's some like oil or something that's kind of in the packaging itself. And my suspension before came with that. Even though I cleaned it up and inspected it, it didn't seem to be blown and it rode well inside the car. I'm not entirely sure why some packages come with oil inside the bag. Maxpeedingrod SP1 coilover. I know we've been talking about changing the spring rates on this in the near future. I'm not entirely sure if they made those changes or offer them yet, but I know that when I preloaded these before installing it into my red CRX, it rode really good. So I'm going to do the same for this. I'm going to preload it just to ensure on a heavier car like the Civic Wagon, it's not going to be too bouncy. The beautiful part about the SP1 as well too is if it is bouncy, we do have the adjustability right here on the top. So you can go full soft or full stiff. Ta-da! Installation instruction, Maxpeedingrod SP1 coilover. They also come with these adapters that clamp onto the body of the coilover, and you can adjust it into whatever direction it takes to fit your brake line mounting points and secure your brake lines into place. They also come with these collars, which is for the bottom of the coilover for the fronts, in case you're using this on a different chassis that's not an 88, 89, 90, 91 Civic sedan, CRX, or wagon. This right here is meant to go on for like the EKs, the DCs, and the EGs. So if you have those vehicle or that year fork in your EF, you're gonna need this right here. And in my case, because I am using Honda Accord front shocks, I am using the matching fork. I am gonna need this for those. I'm sorry for the GoPro quality. I did try to use my G7X to make this video, but the batteries are completely dead and they won't charge. Like, this thing has been charging all night and it does not turn on. They provide Allen keys and their own perch wrenches right here. And the front suspension has the pillow top right here, and this eliminates pretty much the rubber bushing. This is gonna help stiffen the ride a lot, and you can always switch this to the rear of the shock if you wanted to, but that just kind of comes down to preference of like how you like your car to ride or type of racing you do. I'm just going to leave these in the front. The car is not an aggressive car to need like a really crazy suspension setup, so out of the package we're going to run it like that. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to double check all of these bolts right here to make sure they're all tight, because I'm not going to lie to you guys, my first set of suspension, they were loose, and I was glad that I was able to check it to make sure and tighten them up. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so the rears are loose. I was probably able to get about a half turn out of that. Okay, so 3 out of the 4 suspension was loose. Not shabby, but if you guys are buying Maxpeedingrod suspension, be sure to check it for your own sake. So all I'm going to do here is loosen up the lower perch, and then I'm going to tighten the top perch as much as I can and pretty much match it on the rest of the suspension. So we know it's not loaded a lot because I'm turning it very, very easily. You can see the difference on the spring. The one right here is loaded up. You can see the coils a little bit more closer, and the body difference here is almost, I don't know, almost half an inch. So I think I'm gonna leave it at that because this is already getting really tight. On the front here, I preloaded the spring to 7 3/4, and out of the box it was about 8 1/4. So we were able to load the front almost half an inch, just like the rear. Now I do notice that the rear spring is a little thinner than the front. So again, I don't remember what the spring rate is, but I'll throw it on the screen if I remember to. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to adjust the lower body of the coilover to get the ride height that I am looking for. Although I'm going to let you guys know right now, although these suspension aren't really designed to go low, but for the EF chassis, adjusting the lower body completely maxed out is going to give you like 1.5 or 2 inch of wheel gap. And I'll show you guys that now on the CRX. So I have the same suspension on the red car. This is the ride height that I have. It's probably, I don't know, 1.5 finger gap, which is perfectly fine for me. Obviously, you see my cars are not really low at all. Any one of my cars, even my KRX, is not that low. So adjusting the lower body completely maxed out going up is all I'm going to need for the ride height, and I'm going to go ahead and do that for both the fronts. The rear is a little trickier. I don't remember if I maxed out the rear or have it about halfway. The rear is going to take a couple of adjusting, but I am going to preset that as well too. So all the stuff right here on the floor, including the rear camber arm, my brother wants to put it into his blue wagon which he just took to work, but he wants to leave all the camber arms that's configured for the lift for his other car. So that means he is going to change his front camber arm here with some new one he bought, I don't know, 5 years ago, and just readjust the car to the lower height with this and not alter that. I don't think he has rear camber kits. He said whatever he has for the car is in the car, so I'm assuming that we're going to be throwing the stock camber arms in the rear back on. Definitely going full stiff on the front. Had a little dilemma. My brother was mentioning to me yesterday about one of the bolts for the camber arm was just spinning in circle, and I did some small little holes to figure out where it was at, and I found it right there. And I took the bolt out with the strip nut right here. You can see this is what happens when you put a bolt in crooked, but nonetheless we got it out. I didn't cut this all the way, so I'm just going to go ahead and knock it back in. You got to do what you got to do. So let's go ahead and continue putting on the rear suspension. You guys saw earlier I did the flip-flop on the LCAs. Left is right, right is left, and the reason why I did that is because of this curve right here, because I flipped the LCA upside down to get another inch or an inch and a half or so of lift according to the Civic Wagon rider for the lift on these chassis. So now I flipped it back and I'm going to reinstall them in their respectable home location. The rear suspension does not have a nut on the other side, so you need to provide your own nut to secure your bolt to the LCA. So I want to show this real quick. Now this would make a lot of sense to have the pillow top on the rear shock, because if you look, this is bolted to the LCA and it's not in line with the hole on the chassis. So with the pillow top in the rear, it'll help secure the hat to the chassis without really stressing the shaft. Now this is rubber bushing, so it does have a little flex to it, and I can kind of fit it in place, but I think it'll just make more sense to have the pillow top on the rear, if not pillow top all around. I was really trying to beat the sun, but I ran into a couple of dilemmas. But nonetheless, we have the Maxpeeding SP1 coilover installed on all corners, and I feel like the rear is going to be really low based off where the hub is at on the body line. The front looking good with the new control arm. I'm not going to touch the camber until it goes to the alignment shop, but if I have to adjust the ride height, not a big deal. I'm gonna go ahead and clean all my tools up right now, and then I'm not gonna slap these wheels back on, obviously, because it's too big, but I do have my RPF1 reps from the Honda still sitting right here, so I'm gonna throw these on this car temporarily, because the wheels that are going onto this car, I don't know if you guys have seen it on the blue wagon, but the blue wagon is rocking the new shoes for this car. All right, guys, so we are done with the Maxpeedingrod SP1 coilover install, and I do like the height of the front, but I also like the height of the rear, except we are maxed out in the front, but the rear has a lot to go up or down. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna raise the rear a different day to get the back a little bit more higher than the front. I'm honestly okay with a 2-finger gap in case he wants to run a bigger tire later down the road or something. I wish I can take the car off the driveway to show you guys some side shots and how the car looks at a distance, but we lost a lot of daylight. It is dark now, and 2, the battery's completely dead. So I am going to wrap up the video right here. I want to give a big shout out to Macy and Maxpeedingrod for coming on board and hooking me up here with my brother's car on some new Maxpeedingrod SP1 coilover. I like it in my CRX. We're going to find out how it rides in this car soon because it is a much heavier car. So stick around and see the review video later. Also, if you guys are interested in the same Maxpeeding SP1 coilover system, link is in the description below. It may not even be suspension if you guys are looking for something else that's available on their website. And also, before you guys check out, be sure to use discount code YStatic. It helps me a lot and also saves you guys a couple of bucks as well too. There's a lot to do with my brother car here to come. He wants to do the rotors, stainless steel brake lines, the rack and pinion. It's pretty shot. We're going to be doing a lot with like hiding the engine, installing the new hood to get rid of this giant hole here. We're going to do some paint work on the car. We're going to retune the car with the new map sensor, with the new pulley, try to make it a little bit more. All of that good jazz to come here real soon. So if you guys want to stick around and see that, be sure to hit the subscribe button. And if you guys enjoy the progress update on my brother's wagon, be sure to hit the like button. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.